Galactic Council's ultimatum backfires, reaches its dramatic peak when Valonian warships attack the remote Nova Dawn colony without Council authorization. As energy weapons strike, the secret Aegis defense system spectacularly redirects the attack back at the aggressors, disabling their ships without casualties. This public demonstration of both technological superiority and ethical restraint permanently shifts the galactic power balance, transforming humans from targets into respected equals. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council on Citadel Station hummed with tension. Massive crystalline pillars stretched toward a domed ceiling that simulated the starry expanse of the galactic core. Representatives from 100 civilizations filled the tiered seating, their whispers echoing through the vast space like the rustle of leaves before a storm. At the center of the chamber, a raised dais hosted the 12 High Counselors, beings whose species had guided galactic affairs for millennia. Their ancient faces betrayed little emotion, but the subtle shifts in posture and the occasional flash of compound eyes spoke volumes to those versed in interspecies diplomacy. High Counselor Valrang of Arctaria leaned forward, his alabaster skin catching the artificial light. The ridges along his elongated skull pulsed with a blue luminescence that indicated deep thought among his kind. "The matter before us requires delicacy," he began, his translator rendering his clicking speech into the standard galactic tongue. "The Terran expansion has proceeded at unprecedented rates." From the lower tiers, Ambassador Li Wei of Earth maintained a carefully neutral expression. At 52 years since first contact, humanity had achieved what many species took centuries to accomplish. The Terran Empire now spanned 25 star systems, with colonies thriving on worlds once thought uninhabitable. "Unprecedented indeed," said Counselor Tobias Krill, the Valonian representative. His reptilian features hardened as he rose from his seat. Valonians were known for their conservative stance on galactic development, having maintained the same territorial boundaries for over 600 years. "I would use a different term, alarming." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Li Wei exchanged glances with her aide, Sasha Petrov. Both had anticipated this reaction, but the open hostility from the Valonian was concerning. "The Council has tolerated human expansion with remarkable patience," Krill continued, the scales around his neck flaring. "But tolerance has limits. The military buildup in the Rigel sector cannot be ignored. The deployment of the TSF Vigilant-class vessels, warships of unprecedented capability, threatens the stability we have maintained for generations." High Counselor Valrang raised a six-fingered hand, quieting the chamber. "Ambassador Li, your government was invited to address these concerns 3 galactic months ago. Yet we have received only assurances without substantive policy changes." Li Wei rose, her crimson diplomatic uniform standing out amid the muted colors favored by older species. "High Counselors, distinguished representatives, the Terran Empire respects the Council's concerns. Our expansion is driven by necessity. Earth's resources alone cannot sustain our population. As for our defense capabilities, we develop them precisely because we are newcomers in a vast galaxy with unknown threats." "Unknown threats?" Krill scoffed. "Or preparation for further aggression?" Before Li Wei could respond, Valrang interjected, "This chamber has heard enough rhetoric. The Council has deliberated and reached a decision." He nodded to an attendant who activated a holographic display above the center of the chamber. Li Wei felt her heart sink as the Council's decree materialized in glowing script. Counselor Krill read aloud with evident satisfaction. "By authority of the Galactic Council, the Terran Empire is hereby ordered to: First, halt all new warship construction for a period of 30 standard years. Second, dismantle 50% of existing military vessels exceeding Class 3 capability within 5 years. Third, submit complete technical specifications for all defensive and offensive systems to Council oversight." The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the assembly. Compliance will be verified by Council observers stationed at all Terran shipyards and military installations, Krill added. Non-compliance will result in economic sanctions, including the revocation of trade access to Council worlds and the establishment of a blockade around Terran space. Li Wei stood perfectly still, her diplomatic training the only thing preventing her from displaying shock. This wasn't merely regulation. It was an ultimatum that would leave humanity vulnerable to any aggressor. The Council expects a formal response within 15 standard days, Valrang concluded, striking a ceremonial chime that signaled the end of the session. As representatives filed out of the chamber, Li Wei activated her secure communicator. This was beyond her authority. President Hale needed to be informed immediately. Light years away, aboard the TSF Vigilant, Admiral Elena Vargas received the Council's decree with cold fury. The flagship of the Terran fleet was en route to Citadel Station for what was supposed to be a goodwill tour, a demonstration of human engineering prowess, coupled with diplomatic overtures. "They're not asking for cooperation," she said to her executive officer, Commander Jackson. "They're demanding submission." The bridge of the Vigilant was a marvel of human ingenuity, a seamless blend of holographic interfaces and tangible controls designed to withstand both digital and physical attacks. Through the massive viewport, stars streaked by as the vessel traveled at superluminal speeds. "The President is requesting a secure conference," announced the communications officer. Moments later, the holographic image of President Marcus Hale materialized in the ship's briefing room. Despite the distance, his presence was commanding, a tall man with silver-streaked dark hair and the weathered face of someone who had guided humanity through its most transformative era. "Admiral, I've reviewed the Council's demands," Hale began without preamble. "I'm convening an emergency session in New Washington. Until then, maintain your course to Citadel Station but prepare contingency plans for immediate withdrawal." "Mr. President, this ultimatum is tantamount to forced disarmament," Vargas replied. "If we comply, we'll be vulnerable to any faction that decides humans are better as subjects than partners." Hale nodded grimly. "I agree. But we must appear diplomatic while we formulate our response. Ambassador Lee is already working diplomatic channels to gain us time and intelligence." "And if diplomacy fails?" Vargas asked. "Then we protect our sovereignty by any means necessary," Hale answered, his voice resolute. "But I want solutions that minimize casualties and preserve the possibility of peace. Is that clear, Admiral?" "Crystal clear, Mr. President." As the connection terminated, Vargas turned to her executive officer. "Commander, initiate a secure transmission to Moon Delta Shipyard. Project Aegis just became our top priority." In New Washington, the capital of the unified Earth government, President Hale convened his emergency council in a chamber deep beneath the presidential residence. The room was austere, a circular table surrounded by seats for the 12 highest officials in the Terran government, with holographic displays capable of accessing any data in human-controlled space. The Council's ultimatum represents the greatest threat to human autonomy since first contact. Hale began, his gaze moving from face to face. "I need options." Defense Minister Aisha Wren spoke first, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had spent decades in military service before entering politics. "Mr. President, compliance is not an option. The disarmament terms would leave us defenseless against any determined aggressor, including elements within the Council itself." "I concur," said Admiral Takahashi, appearing via hologram from Titan Command. "Our intelligence suggests that the Valonians in particular have been uncomfortable with our technological progress. This may be their attempt to ensure we remain subordinate." Ambassador Li Wei, who had returned to Earth via emergency transport, offered a more measured perspective. "The Council is not monolithic. The Nebulans and Zenturi representatives were notably silent during the pronouncement. There may be room for negotiation if we can appeal to their interests." What interest would those be? Asked Wren skeptically. Trade, Lee replied. The Nebulans have expressed admiration for human art and cultural artifacts. The Zenturi are fascinated by our agricultural techniques. Their homeworld suffers from soil degradation. Hale leaned forward. So we pursue diplomatic channels while preparing for the worst. Dr. Hammond, what's the status of Project Aegis? Dr. Eliza Hammond, Director of Advanced Research, activated a holographic display showing a complex array of overlapping energy fields. Phase 1 is operational on the Vigilant and 5 other vessels. Phase 2 was scheduled for testing next quarter, but we can accelerate deployment to the Nova Dawn colony within 10 days. Nova Dawn? Wren frowned. That's one of our most exposed settlements. If the Council detects advanced technology being installed there, that's precisely why it's the perfect test site, Hammond countered. Nova Dawn lies at a strategic crossroads. If we can protect it, we demonstrate both our capability and our commitment to defending even our most vulnerable citizens. Hale considered this. Will Aegis work as theorized? This isn't the time for technological gambles. The principles are sound, Hammond assured him. Unlike conventional shields, Aegis doesn't just absorb energy, it redirects it. A direct attack would effectively neutralize itself. A purely defensive system, Hale mused. That could change the equation significantly. He turned to his foreign secretary. Draft a response to the Council. We reject their ultimatum, but propose a galactic partnership charter instead. Equal representation, mutual defense obligations, and open trade. They'll refuse, Wren predicted. Perhaps, Hale acknowledged. But it positions us as reasonable partners rather than defiant upstarts. Meanwhile, we accelerate Aegis deployment and prepare our people for possible hardship. He stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Humanity didn't come this far to surrender its future. We'll offer friendship with one hand while ensuring our security with the other. As the Council dispersed, Hale remained, studying a holographic map of human-controlled space, tiny points of light amid the vast darkness of the galaxy. So much achieved in so little time, he thought, and so much yet to protect. Aboard the TSF Vigilant, Admiral Vargas reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing concern. The ship was now just 3 days from Citadel Station, and diplomatic channels were worryingly quiet. The Arctarians have moved 3 battle groups to positions along our trade routes, reported her intelligence officer. Not close enough to be considered threatening, but perfectly positioned for a blockade, Vargas finished. And the Valonians? Their home fleet remains in position, but we've detected unusual activity near the Rigel transit point. They could be preparing for rapid deployment. Vargas nodded thoughtfully. And our covert assets on Citadel Station. Ambassador Lee's aide, Petrov, reports increased security around the council chambers. The Zenturi representative requested a private meeting with her, but was denied by council security, citing protocol concerns. They're isolating us diplomatically, Vargas concluded. Commander, prepare a tactical assessment for immediate transmission to Earth. I want contingency plans for defending our colonial holdings, if negotiations fail. As her officers carried out their tasks, Vargas retreated to her private quarters. The wall display showed the status of all Terran military assets, a force that had grown from a handful of exploration vessels to a fleet capable of defending human interests across multiple star systems. Yet, against the combined might of the Council races, even this impressive force would be overwhelmed. Humanity's only real advantage was innovation, the ability to develop new technologies and strategies at a pace that astonished the older species. Vargas activated a secure channel to Moon Delta Shipyard. This is Admiral Vargas. Authorization Omega-7 Delta. Status report on Project Aegis implementation. The face of Shipyard Commander Rodriguez appeared. Phase 2 deployment proceeding ahead of schedule. Admiral, Nova Dawn installation is 70% complete. We've also begun retrofit preparations for 12 additional vessels. Excellent. And the demonstration package? Rodriguez smiled slightly. Ready for deployment to Citadel Station as requested. The Diplomatic Corps is calling it a cultural exchange module, but it's Aegis ready if needed. Let's hope it isn't, Vargas replied. But hope isn't a strategy. Vigilant out. On Nova Dawn, the most distant of human colonies, engineer Maya Gonzalez supervised the installation of equipment that officially didn't exist. The colony was a testament to human determination, a once barren moon transformed into a thriving community of 30,000 souls, with transparent domes revealing a landscape slowly being terraformed to support Earth vegetation. Power coupling secure, reported Technician Foster, emerging from an access tunnel. The system is drawing exactly as projected. No detectable energy signature beyond standard colony operations. Gonzalez nodded approvingly. Perfect. The last thing we need is to attract attention before the system is fully operational. Governor Elias Chen approached, his expression tense. Engineer, I've just received word from Earth. Intelligence suggests we may face inspection visits from council representatives within the week. Let them come, Gonzalez replied confidently. Unless they bring quantum phase detectors, they won't find anything unusual. The Aegis components are integrated with our standard shield generators. And if they bring those detectors? Gonzalez smiled. Then we show them our revolutionary new power distribution system, purely civilian technology for improving habitat efficiency. Of course. The governor didn't look convinced. I have 30,000 civilians to protect. Engineer, if this colony becomes a target, it already is a target, Gonzalez interrupted gently. Not because of Aegis, but because of what we represent. Nova Dawn proves humans can thrive where others said we couldn't. Some find that threatening. Chen sighed, gazing out at the construction where colonists were building an agricultural dome. Sometimes I forget we're making history out here. It just feels like we're people trying to live our lives. That's what we're fighting to protect, Gonzalez assured him. The right to live our lives our way. Little did they know how soon that right would be tested. In the council chambers on Citadel Station, heated debate had erupted among the representatives. What had begun as a unified front against human expansion was fracturing along lines of self-interest and philosophical differences. The humans have requested a formal hearing to present an alternative proposal, announced High Counselor Valrang. Their so-called Galactic Partnership Charter. Counselor Krill hissed dismissively. A delaying tactic, nothing more. Perhaps, said Zenturi Representative Nal, her crystalline form refracting light as she moved. But refusal to hear their proposal would violate our own principles of governance. The Zenturi would say that, Krill retorted. Your trade with human colonies has tripled in the past cycle. And the Volonians' military production has increased by similar proportions, countered Nebulan Representative Orex, his gaseous form swirling with agitation. One might question who truly threatens stability. Valrang struck his ceremonial staff against the floor. Enough. We will hear the human proposal as protocol demands. But the ultimatum stands, unless their offer addresses our security concerns adequately. After the session, Krill conferred with a small group of Volonian military advisors in a secure chamber. The humans are stalling, he said flatly. Intelligence confirms unusual activity at their outlying colonies, particularly Nova Dawn. What kind of activity? Asked Fleet Commander Vex. Unknown, but energy consumption has increased by 17%. They claim it's related to agricultural expansion. Vex's eyes narrowed. Or weapons development. Nova Dawn's position near the Rigel transit point makes it strategically valuable. Precisely why it requires closer inspection, Krill agreed. Assemble a battle group. We'll conduct an unscheduled security exercise near the colony. If the humans are hiding something, we'll find it. And if they resist inspection? Krill's mouth formed what passed for a smile among his species. Then they violate council directives, justifying immediate action. Either way, we demonstrate that humans must respect established order. What Krill didn't say, what he wouldn't record even in secure communications, was that the security exercise had not been authorized by the full council. It was a calculated risk, but one he believed necessary to check human ambition before it threatened Valonian influence. Back on Earth, President Hale addressed a global audience from the steps of the Unity Building in New Washington. Behind him stood representatives from all human colonies, a visual reminder of what was at stake. Citizens of Earth and her colonies, I speak to you at a pivotal moment in our history, he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. 52 years ago, we learned we were not alone in the universe. We joined a galactic community of incredible diversity and ancient wisdom. We have learned much from our neighbors among the stars. He paused, letting his gaze sweep across the assembled crowd and the billions watching via holographic transmission. But we have also learned that even in the vastness of space, freedom must sometimes be defended. The Galactic Council has presented us with an ultimatum that would effectively end our independence, demanding we disarm while remaining vulnerable to those who might not share our commitment to peace. Murmurs spread through the crowd. I have rejected this ultimatum, Hale continued firmly. Instead, we have proposed a galactic partnership charter based on equality and mutual respect. We seek friendship, not subjugation, cooperation, not control. The crowd erupted in applause. However, we must be prepared for challenging times ahead. If our proposal is rejected, we may face economic sanctions or worse. But know this, your government is taking all necessary steps to protect our citizens and our sovereignty. As Hale concluded his address, secure transmissions were already carrying his private orders to military commands throughout human space. Prepare for potential conflict while maintaining defensive posture. Accelerate Project Aegis deployment. Safeguard civilian populations. The response from Citadel Station came sooner than expected, and through an unofficial channel, Ambassador Li Wei was approached by a Zenturi aide while reviewing cultural exhibits in the station's public sector. The Council formally rejects your charter proposal, the crystalline being whispered. But Representatives Nal and Orex believe there is merit in continued discussion. They request a private meeting with your president, away from Citadel Station. Li Wei maintained her composure despite her surprise. Why tell me this? Because not all agree with the path Counselor Krill advocates. Some of us remember when our own species were newcomers. Before Li Wei could respond, the aide continued. Be warned, Valonian vessels have been dispatched toward your colony at Nova Dawn. Officially, it is a training exercise. Unofficially, the Zenturi's crystalline structure dimmed slightly. Thank you, Li Wei said quietly. I will convey this to my government. She immediately sent an encrypted message to Earth. But even at superluminal speeds, the warning would take hours to reach President Hale, and Nova Dawn was even further from Earth. Admiral Vargas received the intelligence first, as the Vigilant was closer to Citadel Station's communication relays. Her decision was immediate. Helm, alter course for Nova Dawn, maximum speed. Her executive officer looked startled. Admiral, we're expected at Citadel Station in less than 24 hours. And Nova Dawn may face a Valonian battle group in less than 48, Vargas replied grimly. Send my regrets to the diplomatic corps. The Vigilance Goodwill Tour has been postponed indefinitely. As the massive warship changed course, Vargas sent a priority alert to Nova Dawn and all vessels in the sector. Whether the Aegis system was ready or not, it would soon face its first real test. Nova Dawn's defense center became a flurry of activity as Governor Chen and Engineer Gonzalez assessed their options. The colony's standard defenses were designed to deter pirates and handle environmental emergencies, not to repel a military force. Aegis is operational, Gonzalez reported, but untested in actual combat conditions. We've run simulations, but theory and practice often differ, Chen finished. How many civilians can we evacuate before the Volonians arrive? The colony's security chief, a former Terran Navy officer named Rivera, shook her head. Maybe 3,000 on the transport vessels currently docked. The rest would have to wait for additional ships. Which wouldn't arrive in time, Chen concluded soberly. Then, we stand our ground. Inform the population that we're conducting a Level 2 security drill. I don't want panic, but I do want people in shelter positions. Gonzalez hesitated. Governor, there's something else you should know about Aegis. The system doesn't just protect. It can redirect energy weapons back toward their source. If the Volonians fire on us, they'll effectively be firing on themselves, Chen realized. That could be interpreted as an aggressive act, not just defense. We can modulate the return strength, Gonzalez assured him. Enough to disable rather than destroy. Chen nodded slowly. Said it that way. We defend ourselves, but we don't escalate unless absolutely necessary. He turned to Rivera. And prepare a broadcast system. Whatever happens here, I want the galaxy to witness it firsthand. The Volonian battle group dropped out of superluminal travel 12 hours later. 3 sleek, predatory vessels designed for overwhelming force rather than subtlety. Their commander, Vex, was a veteran of border skirmishes with non-council races. Colonial defenses consist of standard shields and minimal point defense weapons. His tactical officer reported, "No match for our capabilities." "Open a channel to their governor," Vex ordered. When Chen's face appeared on the communication screen, the Volonian spoke with practiced authority. "Governor, this is Fleet Commander Vex of the Galactic Council Security Force. Your colony has been selected for an unscheduled inspection, as permitted by Section 47 of First Contact Protocols." Chen replied calmly. "Commander, we're aware of no such inspection authority, especially when accompanied by warships. I request clarification from the full council before permitting any inspection teams to land." Vex's scales rippled with irritation. "Your permission is not required, Governor. Prepare to receive our inspection teams or face consequences for obstruction." "We refuse any unauthorized boarding of our colony," Chen stated firmly. "Nova Dawn recognizes the authority of the full council, not individual member actions. We are a peaceful settlement engaged in agriculture and scientific research." "You have 1 hour to reconsider," Vex snapped, terminating the communication. On his bridge, he turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare a measured response. Target their communications array first, a precision strike to demonstrate our resolve." What he didn't know was that the conversation had been broadcast, not just to Nova Dawn, but to every communication relay in range, including those monitored by council races. Governor Chen had ensured that whatever happened next would have witnesses. An hour later, the Volonian vessels moved into attack formation. On Nova Dawn, civilians huddled in reinforced shelters while Engineer Gonzalez made final adjustments to the Aegis system. "They're targeting our communications array," reported Rivera from the Defense Center. "Energy weapons charging." "Aegis is fully operational," Gonzalez confirmed. "Modulation set to disable, rather than destroy." Governor Chen opened a final channel to the Volonian commander. "This is your last warning. We are a civilian colony under the protection of the Terran Empire. Any aggressive action will be met with defensive measures." Vex's only response was to order his gunners to fire. The lead Volonian vessel unleashed a beam of concentrated energy that streaked toward the colony's communication towers. It struck the shield surrounding Nova Dawn, and then something unprecedented happened. The energy didn't dissipate against the shield. Instead, it seemed to flow around the colony in a luminous pattern before redirecting outward, straight back toward the Volonian vessels, but at reduced intensity. The returning energy struck the engines of the attacking ships, causing power fluctuations that left them temporarily adrift. On Nova Dawn, cheers erupted in the Defense Center. Aegis functioning perfectly, Gonzalez announced, unable to keep the pride from her voice. Their engines are disabled, but life support and other systems remain intact. Chen nodded with satisfaction. Open a channel to Commander Vex. When the Valonian's furious face appeared, Chen spoke calmly. As you can see, Commander, we are capable of defending ourselves without taking lives. Your vessels will regain propulsion in approximately 20 minutes, sufficient time for you to reconsider your options. This is an outrage, Vex sputtered. You've attacked Council vessels. We've defended against an unauthorized aggression, Chen corrected. The distinction is important, especially to the audience currently watching this exchange. For the first time, Vex seemed to notice the transmission indicators showing that their conversation was being broadcast widely. His scales paled noticeably. Before he could respond further, a new vessel dropped out of superluminal travel, the massive form of the TSF Vigilant. This is Admiral Elena Vargas of the Terran fleet, came a stern voice over all channels. Valonian vessels, power down your weapons immediately or face disablement. On Citadel Station, the council chamber had descended into chaos. The live feed from Nova Dawn played on massive displays, showing the confrontation and the remarkable defense technology that had neutralized the attack without casualties. This is an unauthorized military action, the Nebulan representative protested, his gaseous form swirling with agitation. The council issued no orders for an attack on a civilian colony. Councillor Krill attempted to maintain his composure, but the evidence was damning. Commander Vex was conducting a security inspection, as permitted by— With 3 battlecruisers? Interrupted the Zenturi representative. Against an agricultural colony? This was an attempted show of force that has backfired spectacularly. High Councillor Valrang rose from his seat, his ancient features grave. I call for an immediate recess. The High Council will convene in private session to address this situation. In the private chamber, away from public feeds, Valrang confronted Krill directly. You authorized this action without council approval. It wasn't a question, and Krill didn't bother denying it. I took necessary steps to contain the human threat. Their technology is advancing too rapidly. This Aegis system proves it. A defensive system, noted Zenturi Representative Nal. One that disabled rather than destroyed your vessels despite provocation. The humans have shown both technological prowess and restraint, added Nebulan Representative Orex, while certain council members have demonstrated neither. Valrang's bioluminescent ridges pulsed with controlled anger. Your actions have undermined the council's authority and credibility, Councillor Krill, and they have revealed something unexpected about our newest galactic neighbors. Their arrogance, Krill suggested bitterly. Their wisdom, Valrang corrected. They had the power to destroy your vessels but chose disablement instead. They broadcast the confrontation to ensure transparency, and their response to our ultimatum was not merely defiance, but an alternative proposal. He turned to the other councillors. I move that we formally withdraw the ultimatum and establish a commission to review the Humans Partnership Charter. Not because we have been outmaneuvered, but because perhaps we have been mistaken. The vote was not unanimous. Krill and his closest allies objected strenuously, but it was decisive. 7 of the 12 High Councillors voted to rescind the ultimatum and open formal discussions of the Charter. As news spread throughout Citadel Station and beyond, Ambassador Li Wei received an unexpected communication. President Hale would arrive within 48 hours to address the Council personally. The President's vessel, escorted by the Vigilant and 2 other Terran warships, entered Citadel Station's docking area with little fanfare, but intense scrutiny. Security protocols were meticulously observed on both sides. The humans, proving they respected Council procedures even while demonstrating their capability for self-defense. In a gesture that surprised many, Hale requested that Governor Chen join him for the Council address, bringing the confrontation at Nova Dawn full circle. The council chamber was filled beyond capacity when Hale took the speaker's position. His tall figure stood in stark contrast to many of the alien representatives, but he spoke with a calm authority that transcended physical differences. High Counselors, distinguished representatives, I come before you not to gloat over recent events, but to propose a new beginning, he began. The confrontation at Nova Dawn was unfortunate and unnecessary. It resulted from fear and misunderstanding, emotions that are universal across species lines. He paused, allowing the translation systems to catch up and the words to resonate. The Terran Empire rejects the ultimatum that would render us defenseless. But we embrace the opportunity to build a galactic community based on mutual respect rather than hierarchy. Holographic displays activated around him, showing the key provisions of the Partnership Charter. Our proposal is simple. Transform the Galactic Council from a body dominated by the oldest civilizations into a galactic federation where all species have equal representation and equal protection, where technological advancement is not feared but shared, with appropriate safeguards. He gestured to Governor Chen, who stood proudly beside him. Nova Dawn was targeted because it represents human potential, our ability to thrive in challenging environments. But consider what that same ingenuity could accomplish if directed toward common goals: environmental restoration, medical advancement, sustainable energy. Murmurs spread through the chamber, not of derision, but of consideration. The Aegis technology that protected Nova Dawn is not a weapon, Hale continued. It's a shield that neutralizes aggression without destroying the aggressor. It's a physical manifestation of the principle we hope to establish. Security need not come at the expense of others. He looked directly at High Counselor Valrang. The galaxy is vast enough for all our ambitions, if we align rather than oppose them. The Terran Empire extends its hand in partnership. We hope the Council has the wisdom to accept it. As Hale concluded, the chamber remained silent for several moments before Valrang rose from his seat. President Hale, your words are compelling. Your actions at Nova Dawn, choosing restraint when provocation was offered, lend them credibility. The ancient being's bioluminescent ridges pulsed thoughtfully. The Council has voted to withdraw its ultimatum and establish a commission to study your Federation proposal. Applause erupted from various sections of the chamber, primarily from younger species who had long chafed under the hierarchical structure of the Council. This commission will include representatives from all Council races, as well as human delegates. Valrang continued. If an agreement can be reached, it may indeed herald a new era in galactic governance. It was not a full victory, but it was a crucial beginning. As the formal session concluded, representatives from a dozen worlds approached Hale and Chen, expressing interest in bilateral discussions even before the commission completed its work. Admiral Vargas, observing from the gallery, found herself approached by an unexpected figure, Fleet Commander Vex of the Valonian forces. Admiral, he began stiffly, your vessel's intervention at Nova Dawn was timely. Vargas raised an eyebrow. It wouldn't have been necessary if certain protocols had been observed. Commander. Perhaps, he acknowledged reluctantly. Your Aegis technology, it could have destroyed my ships. Why didn't it? Because destruction wasn't our objective, Vargas explained simply. Security doesn't always require annihilation. Vex considered this, his reptilian features unreadable. An interesting perspective. My superiors disagree, but recent events suggest they may need to reconsider certain assumptions. It wasn't an apology, but from a Valonian military commander. It was an extraordinary concession. 6 months later, Nova Dawn hosted the first official session of the Galactic Federation Commission. The once remote colony had become a symbol of cooperation. Its agricultural domes now supplemented with diplomatic facilities and cultural exchange centers. Representatives from 27 species gathered in a transparent dome that offered a spectacular view of the terraforming progress. Where barren rock had dominated the landscape, patches of green now spread like islands in a mineral sea. President Hale, serving as Earth's delegate to the Commission, stood with Ambassador Li Wei as they welcomed the diverse assembly. From confrontation to collaboration, Li observed quietly. Not a path I would have predicted. The most important paths rarely are, Hale replied. We still have challenges ahead. Councillor Krill and his faction haven't abandoned their concerns. No, but they're now a minority voice, Li noted. And even some Valonians have begun to see advantages in the Federation model. High Councillor Valrang approached, his movements deliberate with age. President Hale, Nova Dawn has become quite the symbol, from a disputed outpost to the cradle of a new galactic order. Hale smiled. Symbols matter, Councillor. They shape perception and possibility. Indeed, Valrang agreed. I have lived for 7 of your centuries, yet I find myself learning new perspectives from your young species. He gazed out at the terraforming progress. Your ability to transform hostile environments mirrors what you now attempt with hostile political structures. Both require patience and persistence, Hale acknowledged. And both are works in progress. As the session began, Admiral Vargas watched from the Vigilant, maintaining a protective orbit around the colony. The ship's Aegis system had been upgraded, based on lessons from the confrontation, but Vargas hoped it would never again be tested in conflict. Her executive officer approached with a data tablet. Admiral, the latest reports from Earth. Project Aegis has been reclassified as a Federation initiative. Technical specifications will be shared with all member worlds once the charter is ratified. Vargas nodded approvingly. From military secret to diplomatic offering, a significant shift. Some in the Admiralty have concerns about sharing our advantages, the officer noted cautiously. Understandable, Vargas replied. But an advantage kept is an advantage limited, shared. It becomes a foundation for something greater. She gestured toward the colony below. 6 months ago, Nova Dawn stood alone against aggression. Now it hosts the future of galactic governance. On the colony surface, as the Commission delved into the intricacies of the Federation Charter, Engineer Gonzalez gave Governor Chen a tour of the expanded Aegis Control Center. The system now interfaces with compatible technologies from 7 different council species. She explained proudly. The Zenturi crystalline matrices enhance efficiency by 23%. The Nebulan atmospheric processors extend the shield's range to cover our new agricultural zones. Chen smiled at her enthusiasm. From defense system to collaboration platform. Not what we imagined when we installed it in secret. The best innovations often find unexpected applications, Gonzalez replied. Though I admit, I never thought I'd be teaching Valonian engineers about energy redistribution principles. The galaxy is full of surprises, Chen said, gazing out at the assembly of diverse beings, working together, where once there had been conflict. And so, it seems, are we in the Commission chamber? President Hale watched as representatives from ancient rivals found common ground in the Federation framework. The journey from ultimatum to partnership had been precarious, but each step forward confirmed his belief that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy might not be technology or territorial expansion, but a fresh perspective on cooperation. As the session concluded its first day, Hale found himself standing beside High Councillor Valrang, both gazing up at the Earth-like sky being gradually created above Nova Dawn. Your species moves quickly, Valrang observed, sometimes alarmingly so. It's our nature, Hale acknowledged. We've had to adapt rapidly throughout our history. Perhaps that is what the galaxy needed, the ancient being mused. A catalyst for change after millennia of stability that had become stagnation. Hale smiled. Every system needs periodic renewal, counselor. Even stars must change to continue shining. As twilight descended on Nova Dawn, the lights of 1,000 ships twinkled in orbit. Vessels from dozens of worlds, gathered not in confrontation, but in cautious hope. The Galactic Council's ultimatum had indeed backfired. But from that miscalculation was emerging something unexpected: a federation of equals, united not by force, but by choice. And on the surface below, humans and aliens alike looked up at those same lights, seeing not rival powers, but a shared future among the stars.